Hey guys, Justin Ledford here, and welcome to the Real Construction Owners Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Victor Nino, where we will be discussing building your business and your fortune through real estate. If you're a contractor and or an investor, you're definitely going to want to hear these investing strategies. This class is brought to you by Federal Construction University, which is our course for contractors and entrepreneurs, teaching you exactly how to build wealth by completing highly profitable federal construction projects all over America, or even in your backyard, if that's what you prefer. You'll be given unlimited access to all my program series, my high-end mastermind calls, as well as classes that I've personally invested over $100,000 in. If you're a fan of completing highly profitable construction jobs, then you'll truly enjoy my program and the section that teaches you how to find the best contractors nationwide, as well as the section titled Federal Construction Secrets. If you're interested in going through a 6-day free training, I'll drop that link down below. I also have a brand new book titled Federal Construction Contracts Simplified that's over 80% off right now because we're doing a crazy marketing exercise. That link will be below as well. Also, please remember to hit that subscribe button. Now let's dive into our interview with our guest. Welcome to the Real Construction Owners Podcast, where we interview real construction owners and people within the industry helping us succeed. Today, we have Victor Nino of KW Realty crushing it in his game, and we're going to be talking about real estate investments, about my journey to Costa Rica. Let's go. What's up, Victor? How you doing?
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, brother. So earlier we were talking about Costa Rica and, how abundant life is here. And the property, I bought 10 acres like 10 years ago. And you were saying like, man, this has been a dream of yours for a while. And, we all have dreams, but most people, they get stuck in their bubble and they're not able to live those dreams. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I know you just acquired some land out by the border. Tell us about that project and what it's going to do for your family.
Yeah. So that property we picked up probably about 3 months after the lockdowns in 2020. And I remember, after seeing day in and day out, everybody, all the issues that we were having, how many people were dying and so forth. I just told my wife, let's just turn off the TV and let's go shopping. Let's go look for some property. So we ended up looking for a property in my hometown close to a casino. My hometown's in Eagle Pass, Texas, and it's home to the Lucky Eagle Casino. And my wife and I just started looking. We found a property, bought it, talked to, someone that could help us develop it, an engineer, an architect, you name it. And fast forward to probably 2 years since we started, we finally got the keys in possession to 11 units. We built from scratch, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths on each side for 5 duplexes. And then there's a single standing unit that's 2 stories that I'm going to be using as Airbnb. The cool thing about it is it's probably going to generate about $5,000 to $6,000 a month in passive income. And that is without the Airbnb factor. If we do Airbnb, it'll probably be at $8,000 to $9,000 a month. So we're excited about that. And frankly, just like we've talked numerous times before, it's about the passive income that'll give us the flexibility and the bandwidth to really enjoy life. I was listening to this thing earlier today, and it says, my God, usually back in the old days, you wanted to get wealthy or be financially secure so that you can have some leisure. And now it seems that in order for us to feel happy about what we're doing or feel like we are contributing, we need to be so busy. Yet we're so busy that we tend to not slow down to smell the roses.
Dropping bombs right there, man. We grind, and the American society or culture, that's what it's about. It's about work nonstop. And, I personally got burnt out for the last decade. I've been grinding hard, man, like into the midnight hours. And finally I just said, honey, I'm ready. Like We got the passive income to a level to where we could live off of it through real estate as the vehicle. And, that's one of the things I love about talking with you weekly is like you're on the passive income train. So
Yes.
you built this from the ground up, and you're about to unleash Airbnb. It's right by a casino. I've seen the photos. It looks amazing. So walk us through some of the lessons, some of the things that were tough, that were difficult, from conception to getting it built. Like, what were the steps and what were some challenges you had to overcome?
So number one, we wanted to know how many units would fit. We also needed to find out what the city or the county would allow. The beautiful thing about that part of the area in Eagle Pass is that it's outside city limits, so a lot more flexible. And frankly, I got paired up with a team that builds out there, J&J Construction, and they did an amazing job. Frankly, they took care of all those details, dealing with the city, dealing with inspectors, making sure that the vision that I portrayed onto the architect was brought to life. And it was pretty cool because there were several things that the architect failed to include or make room for certain things. But these guys just, looked for solutions and said, hey, you know what? We couldn't find a place to put the HVAC system in this property, but this is how we did it. And then they would just, ask for approval and then just keep going. So that was super good in the sense that I didn't have to stress, because frankly, I didn't stress much at all. I mean, these guys were on top of it, super clean, weekly updates, letting me know what was going on. I'm actually happy. I just went back to my hometown, and there were like torrential rains, like real bad, and no ponding anywhere. I was like, man, this is just perfect. One lesson or several lessons that I learned from it is, just make sure you pay attention to where you're going to put the windows in bedrooms to make sure that it flows with the bed, with the ways you can put the bed in a bedroom. That would be something that is important, making sure that the closets are going to be spacious enough. Also, planning to have extra money after the construction is done to add fencing and add landscaping, because I thought I was done. And frankly, I dropped another $100,000 just on landscaping and fences for 1 acre. So,
Oh my God.
I thought, talk about a rookie move there. So, that was horrible. And now I'm like, oh my God, how foolish was I not to even consider this? But it's like I made individual backyards for each of the 11 units, just to make sure that whoever rents from me is going to have a private backyard. I also paid very close attention to where the sun rises, where it sets, and I made sure that the sun sets in the front of the unit, so that way people had shade in the afternoon, just because it gets pretty hot in South Texas. The other thing is making sure that you talk about all the details, like say where the lights are going to be centered in the restrooms, to make sure that there's no stud right in the middle and it's going to be a little bit off to the side and so forth. But other than that, another thing, it's like not planning to have a cluster mailboxes, because again, we thought we were done, and then it's like, hey, it's gonna be $3,000 to go get a mailbox cluster like they have in the new communities. So that was like $3,000, and I was like, oh my God, it's another $3,000, and then now I have to buy a dumpster for the trash. So that's another expense, and I'm like, I'm gonna drop another $2,000 probably on that. So, but it's coming along. I already have 2 people moved in, and I have 2 more applications, so it's going well.
That's awesome. So you took your background from being a high-level real estate agent and broker, and you had the vision of having passive income, and you basically met with an engineer, got some plans, met with an architect, or found a builder. What about the funding? How did you fund this thing?
So we went to a local bank, and we ended up getting $750,000 loan. And we probably dropped about $400,000 out of our pocket to bring this to life.
So you're
Uh,
so let's unpack that a little bit. 750,000 is what you borrowed. You had 400,000 out of your bank account. What was your monthly note on that 750,000?
my monthly note right now is about 6,000, 6,200 a month.
Okay, so 6,200 a month, and without Airbnb, uh, you'll be able to cover that.
Oh yeah, each unit rents for 1,000, and the reason why I wanted to do 1,000 is because it's the first go round, so I want to make sure I rent it fast. But I think I'll be able to get $1,100 to $1,200 once the renewals come into play next year.
So
Airbnb. Mhm.
so 11 units, and that's like, let's just say $12,000 a month. You're paying $6,500. That's a nice passive income right there.
Oh yeah,
And so you had to pay the 6,500 for, let's say, 2 years. That's 130,000 ish that you paid out of, because you paid that to the mortgage people.
well, actually, the way it worked is that I was just paying based on the amount of money that they were lending me. So I wasn't paying $6,000 every single month for the year that it took to build the units. So yeah, so it took probably about 6 or 7 months to plan everything, and then the rest was building the property. And they did not charge me anything till they started depositing or using some of their funds to pay the builder. So basically, I spent like $300,000 first, and then once those $300,000 were spent, then they started, giving X dollars to the builder to say do the framing and to do everything, in sequences. So they would send an inspector. The cool thing about that, it kind of reminds me like real estate. When you're buying a property, you want to make sure that people are actually
We have a special guest today. She's trying to learn about real estate as well.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah. So on this, they would charge me, say, $800, $1,200. And I actually need to tally that up to see how much I actually paid before, but it was not that much, frankly. These guys, once they started rolling after the structure and the roof was done, they rocked and rolled really fast. So I didn't have to spend a whole lot of money in the building portion of it. And then obviously the last $100,000 were the things that I mentioned a little while ago.
So curious about paying the contractor. So in government construction, it's pretty cool. We have something known as a construction schedule. And when they complete this, we pay them that. When they complete this, there's a percentage attached to that, and we pay them that percent. When they complete, the framing, it's worth X percent, and we pay them that percent. How did that work? Since you're not there, you're not watching it, and you have a bank involved. How did that work?
So actually the bank would send someone out there every 2 weeks to go inspect, and then they would authorize the payments to them. So on there, it had to get to a certain point before they started contributing. So they wanted to make sure that the $300,000 my wife and I paid towards the building of the unit was already at a certain level per se. And then after that, they started contributing, but based on the work that was being done. So I really don't know the amounts or the percentages. Yet it was a safety net because it really allowed me to have that peace of mind that the bank was obviously not going to pay on anything unless everything was moving forward as it should have. And there were several times where they would be like, no, we're not paying until you get to this portion. And then it's like, we'll just talk to the guys and they would handle everything. But frankly, I mean, it was really stress-free just because these guys did such a great job. I mean, I didn't feel like I had to be on them for anything.
Awesome. So that is very awesome. I'm so glad for you that you were able to get this project done. I saw photos of it. It is phenomenal. Now let's change it up a little bit. You're a high-level realtor and / broker here in Austin, Texas. How do you see the market? Like, talk to us about, like, do you see it going up, going down? What's your high-level perspective on it?
So I've been keeping close track of the market ever since we started seeing the cool down. And frankly, I mean, we had hit real estate jackpot. I I mean, let's be real. When in the history had you seen homes double in a matter of 2 years? Only in California, as far as I know, in Vegas back in 2005-ish, that happened out there. But here in Austin, we had never seen anything like that. My God, gains of appreciation that were typically done in a decade were in 2 years. So it went super high, and then now it's correcting. Yet, if people are tracking it from its peak, from a unreal peak to here, then of course it went down. But if you go back 2 years, we're still going, we're still appreciating in value. It has not gone back to pre-lockdown prices or anything like that, not even close. So I've been tracking the numbers. We've had about 4,200 to 4,700 homes pending every week since then. What has changed is that we went from about 1,600 active listings in a 30-mile radius from downtown Austin to right now, I just checked it 2 days ago, and it was 7,728 single-family homes. So a lot more inventory, and that's why homes are sitting a little bit more on the market, but it's not like there's half the amount of homes pending. That would be more concerning. The other thing, I mean, there's a lot of businesses coming to Austin and the Austin metro area. There's some sleepy cities that some people really don't know about unless you're in the Austin area. But even then, it's not in most people's radar, just because, it's kind of like a stepchild per se that's like way out there, that is like, it's not even on the radar of a lot of people thinking that it's going to appreciate as much. But like Lockhart and
what are some of those sleepy cities? Because now that I'm here in Costa Rica, I am looking to invest on the outskirts where appreciation could occur.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lockhart's probably the one that's the one that should be on everybody's radar. Lockhart and maybe Luling. Luling's maybe an extra 20 minutes away from Lockhart, but I think Lockhart's probably the best one. Taylor last year blew up when Samsung decided to invest a couple $1 billion in the area. So Taylor is northeast, I'm sorry, of downtown Austin, and it's probably like a good 55 minutes away to an hour. Small, sleepy town, and now it's just booming because of that. I just heard there's a microchip company that's going to be opening shop there in Lockhart, so that's going to make the prices go up dramatically out there as well. And it's a small, sleepy town. The cool thing about it, it has a really nice downtown, the picture Back to the Future, where you have the center square and you have what's it called? The county's offices and the city office.
The sheriff office and everything.
Exactly. Really cool shops to walk around and so forth. So it's a really cool town. And I think that's one that's going to appreciate a ton. And another thing, people have the perception that Lockhart's real far from downtown Austin, but it takes 35 minutes to get to downtown Austin from Lockhart. I live in Leander, which is northwest, of downtown Austin. It takes me 40 minutes to get to downtown. And the difference is that on the way from my house to downtown Austin, it's fully developed. I don't see vacant land much at all. But when you drive south from the airport to go to Lockhart, well, then you see a lot of open land. So there's that perception of, oh my God, it's far. But distance-wise, it's the same.
Yeah, Leander has grown like crazy. I mean, that hailstorm hit a year or two ago out there, and we did millions and millions of dollars of hail insurance claims in that area. Yeah, I own a roofing company, so we killed it out there, man. But you're absolutely right. It's the same distance, but now you have these factories and these mega conglomerate businesses. And Tesla, don't they have a shop? They're building a gigafactory down in that area.
Oh, yeah. So I'm telling you, Del Valley is just east of the airport. And just so people that are not familiar with Austin, the airport in Austin is southeast of downtown. And it's probably about a 20-minute drive. Past the airport, just east of that is Del Valley. Del Valley, small town, It really doesn't have much of a personality in the sense like, like a Georgetown or like a Lockhart where they have their city center or anything like that. But that area, I mean, homes doubled in 2 years. And I had been telling people for a while, hey, invest in that area, invest in Bastrop. I had some clients, or several clients that I helped buy like in Bastrop and in Del Valley. And initially they weren't really favoring that area at all. They're like, no, we don't want to be over there. Now they're like super thrilled. There's a big studio that bought, I don't know how many acres of land in Bastrop. So Bastrop and Del Valley has seen a ton of appreciation. Tesla is in Del Valley, just north east of the airport, about a 10-minute drive, and that has transformed all that area. If you do like a 5-mile radius around Tesla, it's insane. And I'll tell you, single-handedly, just that news of Tesla coming to Austin, home prices here in Austin were affected dramatically. And, the good news is this. I know some people will be like, well, this is horrible because of pricing and so forth. But I'll tell you this. I've never met anybody on the bad side of town that are selling their home because they're being priced out due to taxes or whatever, that were upset that they were selling their beat up home for $400,000, driving 30 minutes and buying a brand new one and having that kitchen of their dreams and having a garage and so forth. So it's like, yeah, there's stories obviously where people just can't afford it. But for the most part, people are thrilled when you say, hey, you know what, you don't have to deal with maintenance on this old beat up home and you're going to get $400,000 or $500,000 for it.
Yeah, I was so fortunate. I basically bought in Circle C around 500 grand a few years ago, and it doubled, in this uptick. I also have a property off Slaughter, bought a foreclosure, and it doubled in value. I also have an office that just, boomed in value as well. And I also have one other house in Austin that has substantially went up in value. We haven't done any renovation on that.
What part of town is that one in?
That one is also South Austin near Slaughter. I normally buy foreclosures, fix them up, find a tenant, and then rent it, and then get my money back through refinancing, and then go do it again. And that's how my method of creating passive income. Get a deal, fix it, rent it, refinance it, and then use that money to go get more properties.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, what's an expensive lesson that you've learned, Victor, that you're like, oh, that was painful, besides the $100,000 fence or the $10,000 in mailboxes and dumpsters that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I think the biggest lesson is trying to time the market is the worst way to build equity and to build passive income. I heard this at a convention, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. There's a lot of people that are trying to time the market perfectly. And of course, timing can help, but for the most part, it's time in the market that really matters. So just think about this. Imagine if you can go back 10, 15 years and you would have overpaid, say, even 10% over market value back then. We would be in really good shape right now. And the reality is this: 5 years ago, guess what? Homes were cheaper than today. 5 years prior to that, they were cheaper as well. And if you go 5 years, every single time, it's been cheaper. So I think the most expensive lesson is not buying more property and not holding on to property unless you are turning it into another investment. So recently I just sold my first home I ever bought, and this is insane. I paid $1,500 to buy that property back in 1998. Yeah.
1,500? No. What?
Well, no, wait. Let me unpack this. So out of my pocket was $1,500. I bought it for $80,000. So I financed the rest. I bought that home when I was 19 years old, and everybody was telling me I was dumb. Why are you, this is like a ball and chain. You're 19. What if you want to leave? Everybody was against it. So I learned that always do what the opposite of what most people would do. And I bought that one for 80,000, sold it for 400. So think about it. I spent $1,500 out of my pocket, and I lived for free because I used to rent out rooms for like 8 years in that house. And then it was always paid off by someone else. Yet there's $100 or $320,000 there, from 80,000 to 400,000.
Talk about a good cash on cash return.
Yeah, I'm taking that money and putting it into a fourplex in McAllen. So if you figure, you're like, wow, what kind of rate of return is that? Now imagine if I had done 5 of those or 10 of those at that time and kept them. The thing is this, I bought 2 other properties, like one at 24, one at 26, when I was 26 years old, and I sold them. Why? Because I started paying attention to this guy that was saying the sky was falling. Sell everything. And to this day, I'm like, that's probably the biggest lesson, not holding on and thinking the sky's falling. And the reality is this, even though the market is correcting, it is not crashing. And what I always tell my clients when they call me is like, yeah, I'm going to wait because the market's crashing. I'm like, well, what does that mean? What does crashing mean? Does it mean it's going to be zero? Does it mean that people are going to pay you money to go move into a house? Like, what does that mean? So it's like, we need to define that, right? And with rates going up, I'm telling people, I'm like, look, if rates go up, even if homes come down 50 grand or 100,000, you're probably going to be spending the same money per month if the interest rates go up. And that's another thing. There's people that are saying right now, oh my God, the rates are super high. They're 5. I'm like, 5% really? That's not high. Because when I bought my first house, I paid 7.25, and that was considered an excellent rate. If you go back 50 years, the average rate is 7.9. That's the average rate. So at 5%, we're below average still. So going back to your question, I would say be very cautious who you pay attention to, thinking that the market is crashing. And number 2, just buy property and wait, have time in the market. One realization that my wife and I came to now was like, hey, you know what? After we buy this fourplex, we're going to be at 20 units. At that point, let's just focus on paying them off. And I'm like, if that generates $25,000 a month, maybe a little bit more, then I think that's a good amount of money for us to, retire on. And that's why I was asking you earlier, is like, hey, how much money do you need to be in Costa Rica and live like a king? I mean, my God, imagine at $25,000 a month, what kind of lifestyle would you have?
Man, I'm telling you, we got somebody who cooks and cleans for us every day for like $3 an hour, and good food. We have private school for 2 kids, less than $1,000 a month. We have ocean view home that we just purchased, $350K, that will force appreciation into that home. It'll probably be worth around $550,000, $600,000 when we're done with it. We'll probably put $50,000 to $80,000 into it. And to live good out here, if you're just renting, you're going to need probably $5K. But if you have your own house out here, you only need $3,000. So you could live good off $25,000.
Yeah. And that thing, I mean, that's the thing. And I remember you and I having this conversation with a couple other guys, and it's like, why are we doing what we're doing? Is it just to pound our chest and say, oh, I'm awesome, and look at all the money I'm making and so forth? But it's like, if we're missing life, like, what is it for? And I think that real estate is a great vehicle for us to be able to create passive income and something that's real secure. I've heard this before numerous times, and I think it's so true. They're like, hey, there's a lot of sexy ways you can make money. Like, you can, invest in Bitcoin, and, you bought it at 1,000 and now it's at 20 or wherever it is, and you made a ton of money. Or you can hit a certain stock and quadruple your money in a day or whatever. But real estate is slow. Real estate is kind of like watching paint dry. It's not exciting per se, but even though it's not exciting, this strategy is a get wealthy for sure strategy. It takes time and it takes patience. But the reality is this, that it's like a little snowball, and that little snowball keeps building and building and building. And by the time you know it, it's big. And that's the sad thing for me whenever I talk to someone about investing and say, worst case scenario, they're breaking even every month or making $100, $200. Nobody gets excited because they're making $200 a month. But guess what? 10 years from now, you get to sell it, or you get to do a cash out refi, and you put that into something bigger, And now you can generate more passive income, because now in McAllen, we'll probably be at $1,500 a month. That's pretty sexy, and not having to do anything. So imagine having 20 of those at $1,500. That would be pretty awesome, right? So for me and my wife now, it's kind of like, hey, when are we going to go ahead and tap into this so we can start enjoying life? And that's why it caught my attention a lot. And frankly, I was like super happy when you told me you made the move, because I think this is something that a lot of people dream about. Yet for you, it was more like a plan, and you executed on that plan. So when I heard you were in Costa Rica, I was telling my wife, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'm like telling them everything you're sharing and so forth. And I'm like, that is pretty awesome, because in the grand scheme of things, again, like I said earlier, why are we doing what we're doing? Just to buy stuff? And yeah, you know what? If your thing's buying stuff, go buy yourself stuff. That's fine. I'm not here to judge. But I think that the most beautiful thing that we can give to our loved ones is time.
Time. And how do you spell love? Or how do you spell, I don't know, Matt, there's some saying, it's like,
how do you spell
love?
T-I-M-E.
Yeah. And, it's like that book you recommended to me, 18 Summers. That's all we get with our kids. So like, I had that epiphany, and my team is running my business, and I'm still, managing and helping them and inspiring them. I can do this from here. And now, like, there's carefree timelessness with my kids and my wife, and we do business, kids, wife, but in reality, in my opinion, should be God, wife, kids, business. Yeah. And if we have that format, like we get in a state of flow. And when you're in a state of flow, you can create. And when you can create, that's when like life just begets more abundance. So,
oh yeah. I mean, I really think that here, just to kind of put it into an analogy, is like we're running, picture you driving your car and never getting oil changes, never letting it, get the maintenance it needs. And we're just running it to the ground. That's what we do to our bodies. Why? Because we're just, burning the midnight oil, working. And then we leave the scraps to our family. What do I mean by the scraps? You give all your energy to your business and your career, that you come home and you're just exhausted. You don't want to play with the kids. You don't want to go do something fun with your wife. And that's sad. That's one thing that's helped me a lot, that I'm like, I'm never again. I did that when I was single. And I was like, never again am I going to let that, dictate how I'm going to spend my time. So I'm like, this summer, we went like 5 road trips, and we flew to 4 different destinations just for fun. My wife and I went on 3 vacations in 2 months. So that was pretty cool. 4 vacations, sorry, in 2 months. And that was cool. And, when we were having these conversations about moving abroad, I remember we bumped into this couple in Mexico, and they're like telling me, they grew up in the US, and they're like, I would never go back. And this is something that caught my attention. He says, when I go back home, he's from the Northeast. He's like, I think Boston or New York, I don't know where. He says, when I go back, I see the lifestyle my friends live, and they're like running everywhere. Boom, 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 boom. They don't enjoy life. He says, my quality of life in Mexico is amazing. They have 2 people or 2 girls that live with them, and they take care of the house. Everything's taken care of. All the chores are delegated. Yeah. When he leaves more time,
Yes, your car is washed every day. Your food's cooked for you. Your house is immaculate. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is this: you're giving employment to someone that wouldn't have one otherwise, and then you're buying your time back so that you can invest that time with your kids, with your spouse. You mentioned you went out on date night. And I'm like, that's really what it's about. The sad thing is that we get so caught up in the grind that we neglect those we say we love. And the reality is this: you can ask any person that says, hey, what's the most important thing for you? They'll be like, oh, my kids and my family. And it's like, really? You're spending more time at work and in your business than with your family. So it's like, we have it the other way around. Now, there's seasons, right? And I think when you're young, you gotta work hard. That's my conception. I worked jobs for years, for practically 20 years. And then now I ended up, I'm a late bloomer. So we just, started having kids 4 years ago or 3 years ago. But at 43, I think I see life a little bit more different than if I was 25, because at that age, you're barely starting off, and you really need to work a lot sometimes to really get to create a business, or work your way up the corporate ladder to a level where you're going to be financially stable. And with real estate, the beautiful thing about it is that it could set you free. And the reality is that we really don't need that much money. A lot of times people be like, nowadays, the cool thing is like, I want to be a billionaire. And it's like, well, do you really? Do you really need that much? Maybe you do. And who am I to stop someone? Go for it, right? But we have to realize, hey, there are certain things that I'm going to have to sacrifice. And if what I sacrifice is worth it to me, go for it. But for most people, the neglecting of kids, neglecting of spouse, neglecting of friendships and so forth ends up being a bill too high for them to cover in the future, because then they end up with a lot of money and a lot of things, but very little connection to others. And some of them, they lose their spouse, they lose their kids. Why? Because they're never there.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
It's that thing.
So let's wrap this up with one other final topic. You just hit on a good point. In your 20s, there was a wealthy wise man that said, in your 20s, you need to just go in and learn a skill set and just go all in and work hard, put in a crazy amount of hours. In your 30s, you need to invest, do something big, like take a stance, create something. And in your 40s, employ others. And in later in life, you're able to reap the benefits, like from 50, 60, 70, because you created something in your 30s and 40s. With that being said, what's your role in your company? You now are at the top of your game. What's your role?
Yeah, so now I lead the team. So Diego is my business partner. So I'll tell you, I was so burnt out. I brought in Diego, super young at that time, 25 years old, 24 years old, I believe. And I shared my income. But what happened is that I ended up making a lot more. Why? Because I ended up partnering up with someone that could scale my business. I gave him an opportunity, and he's opened a lot of doors for me. And my God, now Diego is incredible and doing really, really awesome. So what we do together is we lead our team. So we have a team of 10 agents here in Austin. By the way, thank you for your business. I didn't even know you had worked with us.
Yeah.
And Diego helped you. So that's pretty awesome. And that's the beautiful thing about being able to delegate, right? You're able to help more people. It's like you said, you did a few $1 million worth of work in Austin. Maybe you didn't do one single roof, but you got paid. And that's the thing that, a lot of people are so afraid to start a business that they fail to see that this is something that you can scale later. So you pay the price at first. And now, frankly, I don't have to work as hard to get much more results than back when I was doing 2 or 3 jobs. But the beautiful thing about it is that I know I can do it. So if push comes to shove, then I just turn it on, even if it's a couple of weeks, and it's like, let's get stuff done. But creating a business, my God, it just opens up for more flexibility. And I'll tell you this, one thing that I really love about being my own boss, and it's a double-edged sword, you have more control over your time. But if you exercise that free time way too much, then you might end up losing your business, right?
Yeah, right.
It is that balance, right? And you're trying to figure that out. And I'll tell you this, I learned this a long time ago. It says, a lot of people won't start a business because they're afraid that they're going to fail. They say 9 out of 10 businesses fail. And then Robert Kiyosaki said this. He says, well, all that means I just got to start 10 businesses and I'll hit it with one. And I was like, that's so smart. And he's like, well, let's just say I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Let's say I have to start 20 businesses, but it means with one, I'm going to make millions. Let's do it. So fail faster, move forward. And then you learn with each individual situation. With every downfall, there's some lessons, and hopefully you learn from that. But right now, I'm just loving it, teaching the team, how they can create wealth as well. So when people work with us, it's not just about, hey, let's go help people buy and sell real estate, but also teaching them how to build a business within our business so that way they can start delegating as well. One of our guys right now is doing so well that he doesn't have enough bandwidth to take care of all his clients. So he's giving them to the newer agents and now he's buying his time back. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have discovered that when I was 25, 26 years old. This guy, this guy's so good. Last year, he took off for a whole month to Europe on a vacation. Guy still made like $200,000 last year at 25 years old.
That's amazing. You know, with that being said, Victor, you're crushing it in the real estate game. I bought my house from you. You didn't even know that. And I'm grateful for being a part of a mastermind with you. I'm always learning from you. With that being said, if somebody's looking to invest or learn more about the Austin market, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can find me on at Realtor Nino on IG, or all my information's at victornino.com. And then they can find me that way on Facebook as well. But just know this, it will maybe not be as enticing or as fruitful at first, but in the long run, you'll be in Costa Rica like you. I know that's my goal. So that's why I keep asking you, and you know, hopefully one of these days you can share on a podcast like your journey, because I think this is something that would really kind of like shed the light on what to expect if you actually make that kind of move from the US to another country. And then just, you know, you sharing all the beautiful moments that you're able to create now with your family, you know, and just, you know, the sunsets that you were telling us about, the campfires, the walks, everything, seeing all the animals all over the place in the jungle. It's like super cool. So keep sharing that, and hopefully you'll do a podcast episode just on that. I think that would be pretty awesome.
You know what? Maybe I'll do that. I'll put that down in the queue to get it done. Victor, this has been fun. Thank you so much for hopping on the Real Construction Owners podcast. And listen, contractors, if you're looking to invest in Austin, or if you just have questions, my portfolio is blown up because of the Austin market. And I don't see it going down. I see it continue raising. So reach out to Victor if you're interested. Thank you so much, Victor.
All right. Thank you.
All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel for more information and drop me a comment below. I love to see where you're listening in from and what type of contractor you are. And just so you know, I have 6 free classes teaching you how to win highly profitable government construction contracts. Just go to federalconstructionuniversity.com/free training, or click on the link in the description below. Also, in the comments below, you'll see a link where you can check out my new book, Federal Construction Contracts Simplified. The link will be below. You'll be given strategies to grow your construction company efficiently into an 8-figure business, as well as the shortcuts to increase your profits and revenue by winning government construction contracts immediately. In this training, you'll be given peace of mind by being able to follow a proven roadmap. So if that interests you, click on the link in the description below, or go to federalconstructionuniversity.com/free training. I'll see you on the other side.